Back in 2005, RollerCoaster Tycoon 3 Wild attempted something ambitious. It tried to merge a high-speed theme park builder with a full-scale zoo management simulator. The expansion delivered a massive library of new creative assets, but it attached them to a grueling progression system. We are talking about campaign scenarios that can drag on for 60 in-game months just to hit basic objectives. This leaves players picking up the Complete Edition today with a real dilemma. Does mixing live animals with roller coasters actually deepen the management challenge, or does it completely break the core mechanics? To figure that out, we must recognize that not everyone plays for the same reasons. We need to evaluate the expansion through three very different lenses. First, there's the Zoo Sim Purist, the player looking for biological accuracy and intricate animal care. Second is the campaign optimizer, who just wants to beat the economic scenarios as efficiently as possible. And third is the Sandbox Architect, chasing absolute creative freedom. This matrix compares the three pillars of the Complete Edition. While the base game and Soaked are stable, the pacing for Wild is a massive question mark. The true value you get out of this expansion depends entirely on which of those three players the game's mechanics inadvertently favor. The marketing for Wild promised a deep, living ecosystem. The mechanical reality of building an animal enclosure is much simpler. The simulation completely ignores complex biomes. An animal's happiness score is calculated almost entirely by checking two basic variables: the minimum tile size of the pen and the strength of the fence you put around it. The environmental rules are so thin that the engine doesn't even require hippos to have access to water. As long as the fence holds and the space is large enough, their happiness maxes out. Players coming to this expecting the rigor of a modern biological simulator are going to hit a wall very quickly. That superficial design makes the animal mechanics highly accessible for casual coaster builders, but it falls completely flat if you're actually looking for a dedicated zoo simulator. Things get even more complicated when you take those shallow mechanics into the structured campaign, where the economic pacing introduces severe friction. The campaign scenarios frequently rely on VIP NPCs, like Major Smythe, who come with hidden intensity caps for the rides they are willing to test. Because the game generates custom coaster stats using a notoriously unpredictable logic, your custom builds will frequently exceed those hidden caps. When that happens, the VIP instantly turns around, walks out of the park, and you fail the objective. This creates an exhausting trial and error loop. After enough failed inspections, the most logical choice is to abandon custom designs entirely and just drop in the game's generic, pre-built coasters. Breeding rhinos is a bottleneck. High effort, zero yield. Strict social caps and long gestation periods mean waiting for offspring can stall a scenario for 8 in-game years. The mathematical workaround? Ostrich farming. Reproduce fast-breeding birds and immediately sell the babies for pure exponential profit. Traditional Tycoon gameplay asks you to actively balance guest happiness, ride maintenance, and pricing. Ostrich farming replaces all of that with passive weighing. To beat the Wild campaign efficiently, the optimal strategy is to stop running a theme park entirely. You build a cynical, high-speed livestock factory and use the cash to fund your objective requirements. If the campaign forces you into these rigid, frustrating corners, the expansion's new architectural tools do the exact opposite, provided you use them in sandbox mode. Wild introduced an automatic terrain tunneling feature. Instead of fighting the landscape grid, you can carve paths straight through the map. It also introduced safari transport tracks, specifically designed to be woven directly through your active animal enclosures. And because of a mechanical quirk in the engine, sending a roaring, high-speed roller coaster 10 feet over a lion's head does not spook the animal or lower its happiness score. Sacrificing that biological realism means the player never has to worry about cross-contamination between high-intensity rides and animal exhibits. The shallow animal needs and passive systems that make the campaign a chore suddenly become assets in sandbox mode. By removing design friction, the game gives you the freedom to build massive, limitless hybrid parks. Getting a return on your time investment with RCT3 Wild comes down to matching your playstyle to the right game mode. This decision tree maps out the options based on your primary goal. If your goal is deep animal simulation, the total lack of environmental requirements and simplistic biological needs mean you're better off skipping this expansion and playing a modern title like Planet Zoo. If you want a strategic management challenge, you'll hit severe time gates and buggy VIP mechanics. If you do play the campaign, you must exploit fast-breeding animals to bypass the waiting. But if your primary goal is ultimate creative freedom, the terrain tools and the ability to safely route aggressive coasters through peaceful safari exhibits make this the definitive RCT3 building experience. The expansion requires a massive time investment. It only pays off if you actively ignore the game's structural rules and choose to play strictly on your own terms.